super big.
Our countdown didn't go. We're live. It says we're live. I don't know why our countdown did not go. And
4, 3, 2, 1. Hey, how's it going?
we're having technical difficulties. As always, it's Alabama Skeleton Key, and we're always going to have technical difficulties. So my first waiver, I hope you can hear me, is we're having storms in Alabama. And so if I'm in and out, thank God for Robin. She's going to carry the show for us while I try to get back in. But I think everything's going to clear up. Y'all, excuse me. So, Robin is joining us tonight. First of all, let's welcome Robin. And hey, Sam, I see you. I see we got 6
Hey.
viewers already, so welcome everybody.
I can't
I will
see any
say
of the
Jess is not
chatters.
joining us with it tonight. You can't see the chat, I guess, because you're on your phone, Robin, and I
Oh,
don't
okay.
know how to do that, but I'll try to keep you updated as we
Okay.
go. You
Sounds
might
good. Oh,
have to
wait, I
swipe your
can.
phone or something to get the chats.
Okay.
I'm not sure because you're in StreamYard, it
Oh, I can see
might
the
be
comments.
different.
Okay. I can see the comments, but I can't see myself. Can you still see me?
Yes, we can still see you. So you're
Okay.
good.
And
And you
now I
look
can see the
fabulous, by
chat.
the way.
Okay. Thank you.
Um, yes. So, yeah, welcome everyone. And first, like I'm saying, we want to start off and say we're sorry that Jess, our host, cannot be here tonight. She's had a family crisis. So, Robin has thankfully joined us tonight, and we appreciate that. And we're going to just continue to run as we've been talking about the last few episodes. We've been talking about witchy stuff, and Robin was a great
Oh.
one to bring on since she's a northern witch, the
Where it's
beautiful purple
cold.
witch of the north.
I
Yes, very
just want to say
cold
hi to
up
Jacob
there.
and Richard. Thanks
Um,
for coming, you guys. Thanks for coming into the podcast.
Yeah, thank everybody for joining us. And I do want to start off with our disclaimer. Well, we've already kind of started off, but for our new uh, people joining us tonight, we do have our little disclaimer that we like to put up and just remind everybody if I can find it. Y'all see, bear with me because this is usually what Jess does. She is our technical person, and I think because I'm having problems when I click to show something like the countdown, it does not work. Disclaimer is not going to work, I don't think. So basically, let me just say, show, and we do not mean to offend anyone. So if we offend you, we're sorry. That is not our intention of doing so. As myself being, oh, now the disclaimer is going to come up. Everything apparently is going to be very delayed. So, of course, like I was saying, Terry here, the worst one. So, if you're new joining us, you'll see we have Terry's F bomb counter and how many days since Terry dropped the F bomb. So, just be aware we love talking about subjects. And we love to question everything. At no point do we believe our opinions, religious, or beliefs are better or more correct than yours. They are simply our opinions. If you do not agree with that, we simply ask that you be an adult about it and scroll on if this isn't the show for you. Um, and with that said, we're going to hopefully get started with the show here. I apologize again for all my technical difficulties here. And so I will tell everyone we are doing a drawing sometime in February. I got to find my little name bucket here. So everyone that comments in the comments, for every show you come to, you get your name in a little bucket. And sometime, and yes, it is Frosty the Snowman. That's the only snow I have in Alabama. So we got our little names in Frosty the Snowman bucket here. So sometime this month, it's the month of love, we're going to do a little witchy gift basket. It'll be tinctures and potions and maybe some bath stuff and just some lovely witchy
Good stuff.
things that and of course, Robin, we'll double. Your name is already in here for every show you've been on, and we're going to double dip you tonight since you're co-hosting, and because you're one of our best
Well,
people
that's
watching
great.
to join us. Our long time viewer, long time
Yeah,
listener.
there you go.
So,
Not old.
so no, yeah, not old. So, first of all, how you doing in Iowa, Robin? What's
Well,
happening
it's
up
good.
there?
It's really pretty good here. The weather's not horrid. We were supposed to get a little snow. We did. It was just a dusting, not a big deal. I mean, it's cold enough, but it's not like one of those really bad winters, where you're just like hating life by now, and just like
Right.
wanting to die. I'm getting through it.
Right.
I hate winter, but hey, you got to deal with it if you live in Iowa. The eagles are nice. I have them sitting out right out in front of my house every day, and they're pretty cool. Except for
Oh yeah, that's
they
cool.
don't have like a 5 second rule. If they drop it, they just don't pick it up. And so there's like a dozen dead fish in my yard. I'm gonna have to like push off the ledge, So, but it's okay. They're the
Right,
scavengers.
right.
Maybe I'll come get them before that.
So Sam said our power just went out. Sam, are you getting rain or are you getting snow?
Oh, we
And
get snow.
Dawn says they got dumped on. Yeah, I know Sam in our comments said their power shut off. So I was wondering if she's getting rain. We've been getting all day. She's in Virginia, right, Sam? Aren't you in West Virginia and South Carolina? Maybe South Carolina. I know she's east of me. So we have Joanne from Canada, and Joanne hates it and hates winter. I don't blame her. That's why I live in
Oh,
Alabama,
hey,
and
Canadians, the Canadians are out ice fishing right now, they they go ice fishing like 10 months out of the year, I think. Just kidding. It's a Canadian joke.
all the time. Yes,
Yeah. They never take
right.
their hooks off
So,
the ice, eh?
right. So tonight we are talking about the ethics of love spells. So,
Mm.
Robin, I'm going to ask you as a witch, if someone
Mhm.
comes to you and says, "Hey, I want this guy to fall in love with me. Do a
Mm.
love spell." Do you do a love spell?
I wouldn't. No, I wouldn't because, well, first of all, I think magic only works if you do it for yourself, kind of. I mean, I can help you, but I think it's something that you have to do for yourself in order for it to really work. And so, maybe I might give somebody a potion, but I don't do love spells because it kind of seems like maybe you're coercing or binding them to you, and that is not really what you want for love. You want someone to freely love you and to love you because of you, not because of
Right.
some spell that you cast, or coercion or something, because that's
Right.
not real love.
And right, and I agree. And know, I can speak this on this too because, of course, her and I talked about this. When we schedule what we're gonna talk about, we're kind of on the same. We we practice differently, but believe pretty much the same things. as you and I do as well, Robin.
Mhm.
We've talked about these things as well, and for me, for one, like Robin said, it's about putting.
Oh, there she goes. Well, I'm going to just continue to chat about love. um, and magic is like you have to put in your own energy to it to make it work. But I think what's more important is to learn how to communicate with someone that you maybe care for or that you want to have a relationship with. And I think communication is really the big deal here. And so if just talk to them about your feelings and tell them, I kind of like you and I maybe would like to try to have some kind of long-term relationship with you and just see what they say, maybe they'll like you too. And the thing of it is, if they don't and they're not on the same page with you, that is not the person that you want to try and spend the rest of your life with. And no matter how attractive they are or how attracted you are to them, it won't last. And that's not what you're hoping for, probably. You want this kind of relationship that will stand the test of time, and they'll be your best friend forever. But you have to keep in mind too that don't get caught up in the fairy tale, because honestly, um, the diamond companies and some of these other outlets, they wanted to sell things to, like card outlets. They wanted to sell things to you, so they give you this picture, this fantasy of what love should be, and it's flowers and a big cake and all this stuff at your wedding, and it's like that's not even the point of it. The point of it is to find someone that completes you, that somebody that is has the same goals that you have, that has the same interests that you have, that is wanting to make your life better, and you want to make theirs better as well. It's a symbiotic relationship. It should be one hand washing the other, and just a partnership. And it doesn't start as a partnership if you're casting a spell to get them, to be with you. I think if you want them to notice you, there's a lot of things that you can do. And it's going to sound stupid, but one of the things to get someone to notice you right off originally is kind of ignore them. You know, always look nice, be, polite and everything. Talk to other people, as though you would, but don't go out of your way to talk to them. If they're interested in you, they'll go out of their way to talk to you. And that's what you want, is because then they're expressing their interest right off the bat. And then you don't have to wonder, do they like me? Terry, you're back.
Yes, can you hear me from
Yes.
this?
Yes. Did you lose power?
Okay. No, it's my computer. It's the internet. So now I'm just on my phone. It keeps
Okay, well that's
bumping
gonna
me.
work. Bob.
Yeah, StreamYard keeps bumping and saying that it's me, not
Kitty,
them. So
Bob.
I cannot see comments now.
You
And as
can
y'all see, I'm gonna try.
if you go down to the bottom, it has like the
Yeah.
little icons. If you hit the chat one, you can see the chat, but you can't see yourself.
Okay. Well, and then yeah, I can't see you either, probably. But okay.
No,
And there
you can't
goes.
see the display.
Right. Okay. Well, y'all just let us know, as make sure that we're still alive and all that. And Jesse is saying my camera is so much better on my phone. So I did hear some of what Robin was saying, and I agree, wholeheartedly there, and I don't, some of it I was hearing, a lot of it I wasn't. So, I will say that, imagine this. you you yourself, or you get a witch to do a love spell for you. And besides all the obvious reasons, like I heard Robin saying, we question, eternally, do they love me for me, or do they love me for the love spell? Then do the flip side of that. And I'm on my phone now, Jesse. My iPad was a little bit out of reach, so I grabbed my phone quicker. Um, but anyway, if we go on and we say, do a love spell, say, Joe Blow down the road moved in, and you think, oh my God, he's so hot, he's perfect. I'm watching him, he's going to work every day. He just has all these qualities that you think that you want. And you get this witch to cast a love spell, or you cast it yourself, and you and Joe Blow get together, and 6 months down the road, you start seeing little red flags. And you start thinking, well, you know what? Maybe I don't, want Joe Blow so much after all. And by 8 months, 9 months into it, you're like, ooh, yeah, this really ain't gonna work. But you got Joe Blow, who is now the love spell brought him in, and it's just grown and grown and grown over this time. And then you can't get rid of him. And then what if Joe Blow becomes, a serial killer because you broke his freaking heart and wouldn't go back? I mean, we've talked about before, Jess and I, on the show, about when you cast spells, you have to be willing to suffer the consequences. So, just because Joe Blow looks great up front doesn't mean 6, 8 months, 6, 8 years down the road, you find out that Joe Blow is not the one, but now you've kind of bound yourself to them. And what could happen, what could be the repercussion if you decided, and sometimes it's not so simple as just reversing that spell. I mean, because when you put that shit out there, you're putting that shit out there. So I would say, if you were so you had the desire to have this person in your life so much, and you wanted to cast a spell, I would recommend more like a door opener or an eye opener, that they would see you and see you for what you are, or, a door opener, that the doors would open for them, to at least give you a chance. So that's my intake on casting love spells. Am I still, Robin? I don't know if you're still there. Oh no, we lost Robin. Let me see if I can get my computer back up, because now I'm not logged in as the host, so I don't know. All right, will not let me add her back in. So let me see if I can get this dang computer to come back up here. I'll come back to the chat and see what y'all are saying. Oh, thank you, Jesse. Um, well, see, Jesse, I'm going back and reading comments. If, oh crap, why do I have all these? Hang on, y'all, bear with me while I try to get Robin back in. Um, if I would have told you and you came over, then you would be in the same boat I'm in. We would both have a sketchy signal. Now, if you want, if I can get back in as the host, I can send you a link and bring you in with us. I was afraid of this with this weather tonight, but it looks like my stuff maybe maybe my internet may be working better now. We'll see. It says I've got a strong signal. Yeah, Richard, that's the thing. with us reading the comments from our phone, we can't see the camera, so I could not see that we lost Robin. Let me see, get her back in here.
Oh, I'm back.
Hang on, y'all are gonna get.
No, it's stuck. That's weird. Bob.
No, that is my computer picking up, y'all. Hang on.
Got a little feedback.
Y'all bear with us.
Technical difficulties.
I'm gonna find the sound on my. Okay. Okay, I think I've got the sound muted on the computer. I think
Oh, yeah,
I've
there,
got
that's
us.
better.
Um, are you still there, Robin?
Yes,
Okay,
I can
you are
see
still
you on
there.
the screen. I can see us both on the screen.
Hang on, I gotta turn my sound up. I can't hear you. Okay.
I see us both on the screen.
Okay, guys, I can see us both now as
Mm-hmm.
well. So hopefully
Bob, come here.
I can keep us here.
Come on. Come on, Bob.
And you're right,
Bob's trying to
Jesse.
keep me
It
warm. Come on.
wouldn't be a show. Okay, have we
Come
cleared
on.
out the echo now?
Yes. And Bob is not a battery operated boyfriend. Bob is my cat.
Okay. All right. So I think we're back, and I think we have Robin back.
Oh,
And
yes.
so we're going to try to continue our talk here. So I think I lost you, Robin, before I even started talking. And I was just, basically saying, you know, the what if you do a love spell and in 6 to 8, 9 months down the road, you decide that Joe Blow down the street is not necessarily the one that you wanted.
Yeah.
It's not always as easy to go get a witch to uncast that spell.
Mm-hmm. Well,
And then
once
what
you
if Joe
open the
Blow down
door
the street?
to the universe, anything can happen.
Right. And then, like I was saying, what happens if Joe Blow down the road becomes so heartbroken, because you've broke up with him and, kicked him out or whatever and becomes a serial killer or, kills you? I mean, the
Maybe
list
he
of,
becomes so obsessed he like kills you or stalks you, and
right,
you just don't
right.
know.
And
Yeah.
I do personally know of someone that did that. They said when they were very young,
Mm-hmm.
they had cast a love spell, and yeah, then the girl that he cast the love spell to love him ended up being like a stalker several years later.
Oh, wow.
Like, to the point he had to swear out, a restraining order and stuff against her.
Oh, wow. Yeah, yeah,
So
and you just don't know. That stuff can happen. You just don't know. Sometimes the universe is kind of sadistic and really gives you exactly what you asked for. So you really have to be specific sometimes in what you're asking for, and know what it is that you really want. Because
right,
if you ask for it, you're gonna get it.
right, and yeah, Jesse, and it's not just know love spells. There's a consequence for every type of magic you do. Which
Mhm.
that we'll talk about that about a whole nother show. But there's definitely consequence, and so when you're
Yeah.
casting spells, that's the thing I would warn is that people should be wary of the consequences of what can happen from that spell.
Mhm.
You know, um, just say, for example, if someone you love is in a car wreck, and they're in a coma, and you get your witches together and you cast a spell to, for them to wake up out of that coma. Well, what if they wake up and they're paralyzed from the neck down and they spend the rest of their life saying that they wish that they would have never woke up, that they wish they would have died? I mean, is that would be that person, you would know that possibly that person survived and is miserable because of your will, not because of their will.
Right. It's hard though when, loved ones are, having trouble to not ask for things for them. But
Right.
you should really, make sure you know that that's what they want because,
Right, right. And I'm
yeah.
not saying that you shouldn't, do healing spells and stuff for your loved ones, but it is always best if you can ask to
hmm
ask. And
hmm
if you can't ask,
Communication. Once again, it goes back to communication. Like if you want to know something, about your partner, the person that you're interested in, ask them. It's about
right,
communication, and you're going to be with this person for a long time, or you'd like to be. So you really have to learn how to talk to one another in an effective way. Excuse me.
hey Kathy, I see Kathy must be on break. She was checking in for a minute. Um, And like Jesse just said, at the end of the universe, or at the end of the day, the universe will win. And that's true. So you just always have to be very aware when casting spells, when it comes to someone else's will. Cast for your own will all day long.
hmm
That's what you want to do.
Well,
But I would be, and like Robin was saying in the beginning, if someone asked me to cast a love spell for them, my simple answer is no. Absolutely not. I won't even consider it. And I don't know that I would even help, you know, like say, well, here's what you could do. I think I would leave that up to them. If they really want to do it, they'll find out. And
there's
I would rather not be the one to give them the information. But what I might advise them, like I was saying, is a door opener spell. So that person sees you, you get the door open, the path to them,
I'll tell
or,
you about like doors opening.
right,
I I was out in my shop, and at the time I had a little altar out there, and I was just kind of doing just kind of like a daily gratitude thing, and I guess I was kind of lonely or something because I said, let love just walk in my door sometime here soon, and I had the garage door open, the big door, and here come the neighbor's big old dog, Red. And Red did. He loved me like no other. He was so happy to see me, and I pet him, and he licked my face, and it was just a real nice encounter, And you gotta hand it to the universe. I got exactly what I asked for. I wanted love to
right.
come in my door, and
Now,
Red loved
are
her.
you reading the comments, Robin?
It wasn't exactly what I would had in mind when I said the prayer, but that's what I'm saying. You have to kind of be specific about what you ask for. And
Exactly.
but I mean it was all good. I mean, it was a nice reminder that love comes in many forms, and it could be
Exactly.
love of a pet, it could be the love of a friend, it could be the love of your children or your parents. It doesn't have to be romantic love to fill your heart.
Exactly. Exactly. And yeah, what you led us into, where I was going to kind of go there next about self-love. And are you reading the comments? They're talking about so much purple. They're waiting on Prince to jump out, and so um
I like
I
it's been really good for me. I feel good about it. The purple has like given me a little bit of a lift.
Oh,
So,
I've done my hair purple for what, Jesse, 3 or 4 years now.
oh
And
yeah.
when people tell me, "Oh, I love your hair," I'm always like, "It's my natural color. God just fucked up. I just helped him out."
That's funny. I had blue for
So,
a while. The blue was
um,
nice. I think the purple's even better.
I like purple. I stay with purple myself. Now I did like the blue ends, I did the ombre and did the
Hmm.
blue ends. I like
Hmm.
that. But the blue just did not hold as well as the purple does. And I guess because I've dyed it purple so many years now, it
I thought
really has become
haired
kind
old-
of a natural thing.
I got blue hair so I could be a blue-haired old lady.
And Jessie saying she hasn't seen my natural hair color since before chemo. But since chemo, it comes back white. So, I mean, here it is. There it is.
Hmm.
See, I need to do it
Yeah,
again.
yeah.
It's
See,
been white
mine's
since
pretty.
chemo, except back here in the very back. It stayed under here. It stays
Hmm.
pretty dark under there, but it's been white since chemotherapy. Um,
See
so
a
which
little bit.
I want to
So
talk about, self-love, and of course, for me and
right now.
Robin, we dye our hair purple, and it makes it, you love your hair, you love the way you feel about it, and it's, self-love. So, and next on Sunday night show, we're actually going to be showing you how to do some self-love spells.
Ah, nice.
Because, that's the best love. If you love yourself, then
Mhm.
you open the doors for other people to love you.
I think if you don't have really good self-esteem and you feel like you're a little bit, like down about yourself, I think that's the time when you won't attract anyone good, that you really want to be,
Right,
because they can see that you feel not like you're not worthy, so they aren't going to think that you're worthy either of that.
right.
So
Mary, meet Drew. Welcome tonight.
yourself to love yourself and like who you are and what you're doing.
Right. And that's true. When you feel good about you, you radiate a light,
Hmm.
Um, and when you're down on you, then of course your light is brown and mucky. And what do you bring in? You bring in brown and mucky and yucky. And so, think about that when you're entering in new relationships. What kind of, you know, mind frame are you in? Are you in the best possible mindset that you can be in when you're starting up with this new person? Because, if you're not, then there's possibility you put out in the universe, maybe and brought in some kind of maybe not the best person for you, you know?
Hmm.
I think it matters.
Yeah.
I think it matters.
And another thing too is sometimes when you meet people, you really have to give things a chance. And just because maybe, it wasn't love at first sight, doesn't mean that, it won't like turn into something more as you get to know people. Because frankly, sometimes the most attractive things about people are things that they don't immediately stick out there. It's the
Right.
things that maybe, they've experienced or they did, that
Yes,
were.
hang on, Robin. Just I have to say, yes, Jesse, that is the Meredith, and I wanted to acknowledge that too.
Oh,
Welcome,
dear.
Meredith. Yeah, I mean, I follow Meredith on Facebook, but I've not seen that child since she was a baby, and she's grown into quite the lovely young woman.
Is a gorgeous young woman, and she's got a very good head on her shoulders. She's very responsible and independent and self-reliant, and she's just a gorgeous human being. I'm very,
And
very, very proud.
that's good. I did see, she's smart enough to chime in, about, self-love, and so
I think
that's
she love herself. I think she should, and I
right.
think she knows
Absolutely.
that she's worthy of being loved, and I think she has a love.
Oh, well, that's good. Is it the same sweetie you've told me about before?
Yes, and Ian, I'm just going to say his name. He's a nice young man.
And they've
So
been together for quite a while now.
years, yeah. So I think things are going along okay. That's at least from what I hear, which is
Right,
not
right,
much. But
right.
no,
Well,
I'm
that
now
doesn't take
embarrassed
much.
and going on and on about her.
Right. Oh, well, Meredith, we don't mean to put you on the spot, but, it's good to see you and welcome to the show. Of course, we're glad to have your mom. We're always glad to have your mom. I was thinking about that today, Robin. You and I have known each other for over 40 years.
I know, isn't that something? God,
That's
we were just
crazy.
such kids. And
Yeah.
this ring, but I've had this ring that you gave me for like 35 of those years, probably.
Wow.
I
Wow.
know, isn't that crazy?
It is crazy.
And you found it on the bathroom floor. That's funny.
Well, now watch. Somebody's watching and say, "That's my ring. I lost it."
If they can tell me what bathroom floor, where we were at, then I might think it was theirs. So, but
Right.
you
Well,
probably never guess in 100 years.
well, shit, I can't even say really honestly that I remember. You'll have to tell me after the show where the hell it
But
was.
it's fun.
I have to go back to the comments now. I go back and forth so I can see your face and
But the love of friends, and maintaining these long-term friendships with people, I think is important, because it kind of grounds you and gives you roots, with people over the long term, because
oh, absolutely.
those
Yeah,
relationships are really just as important as any romantic relationship you might have,
exactly. Exactly. Because, there's nothing like your old friend, and I don't mean like old as in years. I mean old as in your friend that's been around most of your damn life that
Yeah,
ground you and bring you back to where you need to be if you get
yeah.
too ahead of yourself. We'll just
If you're getting too down on yourself, or you're just getting to be kind of in a place you don't want to be, they kind of tend to pull you back out again,
right, right.
and so that's always good.
It is. So, so yeah, that's like we will be Sunday night talking about, self-love spells and how to do that. But, it really doesn't even have to be witchcraft or magic or, anything like that. Everyone, you should get up every day and look in the mirror.
And you
And
say to
I
yourself,
I have to laugh at myself when I get up and look in the mirror because, of course, Lenny will always say, "Good morning, Nick," referring to Nick Nolte's mugshot because my hair is just crazy as it. And I even put it up in like a bun or, something, and I still wake up and it's crazy as hell. So I always have to wake up and look in the mirror and laugh at myself, number one. I mean, and I think if you can do that, that helps, And
yeah,
then, fun, if you're struggling, with self love, find one thing about yourself that you do love, and if you have to harp on, I really love my eyes, or I really love my nose, or, wow, my hair looks great today, or whatever it is, do it so many times that you really believe it.
I
Because,
would
you,
hear Smalley affirmation. Stuart would sit in front of the mirror and he would say to himself, "You're good enough, you're smart enough, and gosh darn it, people like you." So, so that's like a daily affirmation, just to make sure that you're still in the game.
So, yeah, see, even Jessie is saying, that she laughs at me when she wakes up. And Jessie, you'll make, there's been times over the years that Robin and I, not that we weren't speaking for, but we lost, we lost where each other were, for a while. And somehow the universe always brought us back together in like the strangest places. You
Hmm.
know, it would. I think remember the time at Credit Island when we hadn't seen each other for years,
Yeah,
and we both just happened to be there for whatever. I think we were there for two different reasons,
maybe.
and
Yeah.
ran into each other. I think I think we were down there for a Wilson family birthday party or something, and I'm
Uh-huh.
thinking that we had just came in town, or you had just came in town from Colorado.
Oh, there
I
you
think
go.
that was, your first husband days.
Gosh, yeah, that was a long time ago. Wow. that
I mean, and my friend Connie,
was
um,
intense love. I loved him like a first love, like
right,
just, so like everything to me. And if I would have known then what I know now, I would probably still be with him.
really,
Yeah, really. Because I didn't realize, and that men, and this is a good thing to mention, men and women view sex differently. Okay, women have been programmed for years to view sex as, if I have sex with you, that means I want to have a commitment with you. I need a commitment. Now,
right,
and men feel like sex is sex, and they could just go have sex at lunchtime and go home, and it doesn't equate to your position in their life or their heart or their how they feel about you. It has nothing to do with you. It's just sex. It's an act,
right,
eating or breathing or anything
right,
else. Now, for
right,
women, we connect all these emotions to sex, and I
right,
love him and I want to, be with him forever now, but men don't view it that way. And if I would have just let him go and had an open, what they call an open relationship with him, he would have always, always come back to me. And I could have still been with him, because he was 19. He just needed sex like all the time. And I, probably
right,
didn't sex quite as much, but he wanted a little variety too, probably. But he just, if I would have let him, have an open relationship, I'd still be with him probably.
right,
I
right,
don't recommend that for everyone, but it's just something that I have considered since then.
right. Well,
So
but of course, everything works out the way it's supposed to.
true, very
You
true.
so when we have to believe that I know sometimes, shit happens in our lives and we're like, why? But it's just the way it's supposed to be for whatever, and I'm not going to go into that, because that's God's will, because I don't believe that.
That's true.
I mean, I believe at some point, yes, when I say God, I'm not talking about, you know, the God that everyone else is referring to,
Hi,
you know.
Daddy.
Um, I'm talking about all the gods, whatever God out there is listening. Um, when you put stuff out there to God, you just never know which God's going to catch it and which God's going to respond to it. So you got to be damn careful about that.
Hmm.
And things aren't always, sunshine and roses and, you know,
Hmm.
the whole God's will thing topic is a whole nother show too. So we won't get off on that one either. But yeah, I do believe that at some level, when we come into this world, that our paths are kind of laid out for us. Now we may do things to kind of maybe change direction here or there, or bend the road a little bit. But I do think at some level, that yeah, our paths are laid out for us. So that
Sure.
guy was,
But
you're,
we can
you're
take different roads, and do they all lead to the same place? Well, probably because we all die.
exactly. I mean,
But
that's two things in life, that we can count on is, if you're born, you're gonna die. I mean, it's that simple, as sucky as it may be,
it is, and the thing is, I think you get to our age and that it's going to come for you, it
right,
just comes for everyone. And you're
right,
going to kind of resign yourself to it. Like, Okay, well, I'm going to pretend this is going to be a great big adventure because, you know, it very
Right.
will be. And so and to make me feel better, I'm just going to go on thinking that, there's something more to it and that it's not going to be bad, you know.
Yeah, and I believe that, because obviously, as a paranormal investigator,
Oh yeah,
we
there's another
we have
side.
we have evidence that there is
Hmm.
something beyond this. I mean, I've got solid EVP of voices, disembodied voices that were not us, that were not, anything in the environment. I have solid EVPs,
Wow.
several, and then of course, in, well, of course, what we call Graceland, we've
Hmm.
got, we've heard and felt. So, I mean, we know that there's something beyond us. Is it truly, someone that was living? No one really can say yes or no, but we have pretty good evidence to confirm, yeah, that there is something beyond this. So, and I also, for myself, I do kind of believe in reincarnation because I think that there are things that like fears or phobias that you just have that, it's like, this is the way I died in a past life, or,
Think
you know,
about past lives is that we do live past lives. But here's the deal. What I think this is like our grade school, like kindergarten, through 12th grade, say. And
right,
so if you've become consciously aware, what do they call you've become enlightened. If you've become enlightened, then you can move on to the next, realm. But it'd be like if we became omnipotent after we die, then we would have like the control of a 5-year old.
right,
If we didn't like gain that enlightenment, before we
right.
moved to that omnipotence. And so I think this is like school for us. We're learning how to be an omnipotent being, by learning compassion and self-control and things like that, and once you
Right.
become at that point, then you could move on. But otherwise, you just keep living this life, living lives until you get it right.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I really hope that because I see the way the world is now, and I don't want to leave it anytime soon, So, well, hear me when I say this, universe, But I do hope that I've learned those lessons and that I can just be whatever it is you're destined to be when you're not of this earth anymore.
Hmm.
You know, I don't think I want to, because life here fucking sucks. I mean, not
Yeah,
all the time. Don't get me wrong. I enjoy life and I'm a happy person. I'm not, a depressed person. But I mean, it's a struggle. It's not.
this is hell, and that when we die, we can get to heaven because we already lived through hell.
Right. I mean, yeah, and that's kind of the way I believe. If there is a heaven and an earth, or a heaven and a hell, then hell has got to be here. I
You
mean,
think?
because if there's a heaven where everything is loving and beautiful and sunshine and roses and butterflies and love and shit, well, then it's got to be away from this place because this place is definitely not that.
Right,
And,
right.
if I could change, the one thing about the world, that is the one thing I would change. I would be, John Lennon. Let's just, everybody just find love.
Yeah,
But and love begins within.
yeah. That's
You have to love yourself first. And
hmm
hey, I've lived,
true.
55 years, and there have been times when I've not liked myself.
Hmm.
I've been down on myself, and it does affect everyone around you. So, you know, do what you got to do, to find love in yourself before you find, love away from you.
I think I am my harshest voice and my voice inside. I have there's a little Irish girl that lives in there and she tells me, "Oh, you think you need that other donut, fatty?" And stuff like that. And she's real mean to me. And so then I've tried to this year I'm not going to be as mean to myself in my head. It's like, "God, are you stupid or what?" Just I'm just going to be like, "Oh, it's okay. Everybody makes mistakes. You'll get over this, things will be fine." And just be kinder to myself because I'm super
Right.
to myself. And I
Well,
think
that's funny that you say that because, because you were one of the people that I did, my 13 readings in 2 days for.
how's
Um,
that?
one and Sam was also one of those people, and like I always tell people, I don't claim to be a psychic, or nothing like that. But occasionally, you know, and I know that you know what I mean, Robin. You just get this like something beating on your head saying, "Hey, I need you to say this, or go tell this person this."
Hmm.
And after I did Sam's reading, I was getting that beating on my head that was the same message, to have more compassion for yourself.
Hmm.
And I think a lot of us struggle with that. Um, in which world we call it shadow work. You go in and you look
Your
within yourself.
your bad self.
Yeah, you look at your bad self and you acknowledge, that bad, and you have respect and love for the bad
Hmm.
parts of you as
Hmm.
much as you do the good parts of you, because you
Hmm.
have to integrate the bad part and the good part to be a whole, and
That's what I've
just
been doing lately is the shadow work because I'm trying to, be more accepting of my flaws and things like that. So,
right. And I did the same. This has been kind of my year, I've talked about on the show before that, now I'm moving into level three of a witchcraft, or level four of a witchcraft class I'm taking. So now I'm, in my fourth year of this. And I know that shadow work, I should have started. And, this is one of my downfalls is I procrastinate and I think later, 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 later. And, as you were saying, of course, at our age, we have to, ask ourselves, how much later do we have? You
exactly.
know,
I
so
keep
I can't
putting
keep putting this off, this shadow work off. I've dabbled in it. But I really need to be in it,
Mhm.
so um that's going to be fun.
Yeah. Well, I think it's always a little bit cathartic, to have to work through our, self-esteem and self-image issues, I've kind of battled it my whole life, on and off, sometimes
Right.
think, God, I'm doing great. I'm just, I'm a go-getter. Just really on top of stuff. And then other times I think, what a loser. What is your freaking problem? It's just like I go between, really thinking I'm okay to thinking I just don't have anything going on. I don't
Right.
know. I
Right.
don't know what I'm doing.
Right.
But
Same. I mean,
yeah,
I think that's just, part of the vicious cycle of being a human. you know
yeah, true.
Another, one of those things that,
Because we've been like kind of trained to be hard on ourselves,
right.
because things like body image and just having a family and all this other stuff, and it's I tell you, it's hard to be a woman these days. It's tough because mostly you're expected to, bring home the bacon and cook it too, you gotta do it all. And
Yeah, and for, a lot, be the wife and the mother, and and it's
career.
a lot. It's a
It,
lot.
Yeah, I know. I did it. It's terrible. It's
Yeah,
too much really to expect from people, you know. Motherhood's tough enough, but then, you know, to have a solid career on top of it, you know, it's tough.
right. Oh yeah, yeah. I mean, no doubt. It's definitely a damn tough world out there. That's why I said, I hope that, I don't want to go anytime soon, but I hope that this will be the final round, of life like this on Earth.
Hmm.
Um, I want to watch from above, you know. I want to be a ghost. I want to haunt people.
That's so funny. I just want to hang around and haunt my kids and grandkids forever.
Not forever, but pop in every now and then. I don't want to be like stuck here.
Well,
I want
that's
the
nice. You know, if you could just pop in now and then and check
yeah,
them and stuff, that'd
right.
be nice.
Yeah, I want the ability, and I kind of believe that that's kind of how it is,
You think
because
they can pop in again, like just in and out.
yeah, that they could just, pop in and check on us because, every now and then, I guess, and we've talked about this before too, but the biggest presence for me that's noticeable of afterlife is Jesse's potbelly pig Harley. Yeah, because we will still occasionally hear him and smell him, because he smelled like maple syrup. And so occasionally you still get the very strong scent of maple syrup and
Huh.
it's Harley.
That's,
So and I went through the whole cremation process and all that with Harley.
wow.
It was with that pig that I learned, how I wanted to be. I wanted done with me after life,
Hmm.
and I became not so afraid of death anymore.
Hmm.
And so I find it odd, or not really odd, but that just kind of comes full circle that he is the one that I notice in afterlife the most.
Yeah.
I mean, and I'll be standing in the kitchen doing dishes, or I can be walking, out in the yard, and all of a sudden I'll hear him. And you can kind of talk, well, that might have been a wild hog somewhere.
Hmm.
But then when you get that whiff of maple syrup, it's like, oh, well, that's definitely Harley,
Funny.
So,
I
and it's not all the time, it's just once in a while. And
huh?
so, yeah, I do believe that they just kind of pop in. And I
Yeah.
do think, of course, after investigating Graceland for a year, I don't know that Mary is stuck, but for what is she wants to be there or whatever it is. But I do believe that, yeah, they do tend to hang on to certain places for whatever reason.
Uh-huh. Well,
I don't want to be that kind of ghost.
yeah, no, I don't want to hang on because I think it's better on the other side, and and I just don't want to be stuck here. I mean, you know, like you said, this isn't really that great of a place, you know, for the most part.
It really isn't. I
Yeah,
mean, it's full.
on occasion, you know.
Right. I mean,
Well,
yeah,
pretty
there are
great.
good qualities. I mean, it could be worse, yeah, but
There's a lot of, I think, valuable lessons to be learned, even in hardship, you know.
right,
Um, but maybe that's when you learn the most. I talk about the lobster. I'm always like, be like a lobster. The lobster will, he gets real uncomfortable. And so he starts to kind of squirm around and he rubs up on rocks and stuff. And then he'll pop out of his old shell because he couldn't grow anymore because he had this restrictive shell on him. And that's
right,
kind of like us, you know, we have to let go of things and let go of that old shell so that we can, you know, be a better lobster. We can be a bigger, better lobster.
right, right.
Let go of that
But
old stuff and be willing to change, you know?
right. Jesse is texting me, the time, and we are getting close to our hour being up. So, I do, of course, want to thank the Things Network for always allowing us to be ourselves, and the support and love we get from them.
Thank
And
you.
I know there are a few of the other hosts out there on things that are going through some sicknesses and some other issues right now. So I want to, send our well wishes and our love to all of them. And of
Sure.
course, we want to thank Robin for joining us
No
and
problem.
giving me somebody to talk to. So I'm not just sitting here talking to myself on camera here.
Well, I'm
And
always here to sit and talk with you, and you'll be my friend till we die.
oh, and absolutely, that's I feel the same way about you. When it comes to love, I love you dearly and always will, and that's what it is. And maybe one day you can come down here and you can sit on this side of the camera with me, and we'll broadcast all of them out from here.
I might actually think about doing that in the springtime here in just a couple months. I might try and make a trip down to see you.
Well, that would be great. Well,
Yeah.
I've got the computer logged back up so I can end this broadcast, I think.
All right.
So
Good
let
night.
me, yeah, good night, everyone. Thank y'all for joining us. And remember, Sunday night, right here, um, same bat channel, but different bat time.
Don't
We'll
forget to
be doing
people.
We'll
You're
be doing self love spells, and maybe Robin will come on and join Jess and I that night too. So I'll talk to her about it, and it'll be a surprise to y'all. So we love all of y'all. Thanks for being here, and I'm gonna get all your names in the drawing, and sometime this month we will draw that giveaway.
Yay.
Y'all have a great night, and sorry I don't have any kind of smart ass one liner like Jess usually does, but I'll just end it with, well, fuck.
That's funny. So it's just me and you then in the room
No.
here.